Alrighty, you all. We are all set up for Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, performed by the one and only Drakodan here. He has a guest commentator with him. I'm not going to put his Discord name. I'm going to put the name that most of us know him by. I think it's more relevant to one of the legend here. So, alright, you all ready? Let me see some red cheese in the chat to see if y'all ready for this. Alright, here we go. We're going to pass it over to them to get this going. Alright, so good luck to Drakodan, and let's get it going.
Alright, well, hello everyone. Hopefully we're good, hopefully we're live, hopefully everything looks and sounds nice. I am Drakodan. This is going to be Sonic Adventure 2's hero story. With me, I've got helping out on commentary is Mike, aka Sega Junkie, if you want to introduce yourself.
How you going? My history with Sonic Adventure 2 is long way back, but I definitely at least know most of what's going on in this run, so hopefully I'll be able to help out.
And most importantly, he's just a cracking bloke, so I'm happy to have him along. So, I'm just going to do a countdown, and then we're going to begin. So, 3, 2, 1, go. My splits didn't start because my other split is disabled, so I guess I'll try and split manually as I go through the run. So, we're starting out the run with City Escape. This is Sonic's first stage. Thing I should immediately note is that about 40 seconds into the stage, I'm going to be coming up to one of the potentially biggest skips in the entire run. It's extremely difficult to land and kind of pseudo-random in how it works, so I'm basically going to give it one attempt and carry on if I don't get it. I'll basically explain it if I hit it, but long story short, I'm going to need to store a lot of speed through a speed pad, which would otherwise slow me down too much, and then hopefully use some pause buffering to get a couple of inputs very close frames together so that I can do a trick jump off this ramp at the right time. Let's see how this goes. Are we going to get it? I actually got C skip. Alright, good start.
Nice!
So, technically, this is world record pace so far, but there is the entire rest of the game to go, and as well as the Sonic and Tail stages, there's also the Knuckles stages to contend with, which are extremely RNG heavy, and now I'm making execution mistakes now that I'm past the difficult stuff, so there you go. Don't die here. Alright, didn't form the pit, which is quite dangerous when you have to play that section with bad camera, which is caused by the strat that I use there to increase the consistency of CE skip. But we're in truck section, and this is a good example to see how Sonic's fundamental movement works in this game, that when you're going down slopes like this, you want to, as much as possible, just let the spin dash roll. It basically behaves how you'd expect a ball in real life to behave. If you roll a ball down a hill, it's just going to get faster and faster. But if you're going along flats or if you're going uphill, you want to keep unrolling from the spin dash and use spin dash chains to keep your speed high. So yeah, that's what you're going to see a lot of with Sonic's movement.
The main reason you also do that is to, if you unroll, then it's more likely that you'll actually stick to the ramp. Stick to the ramp as you're switching from going flat to going down the hill.
Absolutely, yeah, that is true, for that truck section specifically. I messed up like one of the ramps, but it wasn't a huge deal. So, if you know this game much at all and you're particularly observant, you'll have noticed that as I completed the stage, I didn't get an emblem cutscene. I'm not doing a New Game Plus run. I took some time before going live, basically when I was setting up and practicing, to set up a relatively new PC glitch called Emblem Skip, which just disables the emblem cutscenes. This game is timed by IGT, so it doesn't make any difference to the run timing, but since this is a marathon, it's not too bad to just streamline the RTA a little bit where we can. So here are the Knuckles stages, or this is the first Knuckles stage, Wild Canyon, and we've got to find 3 pieces of the Master Emerald using hints. And the pieces are randomly generated. We can get 3 pieces, as I did just here, spotting a piece inside the block as it was out of draw distance. And now going towards my first or second now piece. And now I just need one more hint to know where my last piece is. Probably Pillar Out of Treasure. Alright, back down here. I potentially could have seen this as another 3-piece, but this is a very odd layout, so... Wow, no, take me off. Alright, fine. 27, I'll take it. It's not on the, like, better end of times that I would like to get for Wild Canyon, but as I say, these stages are very random and there's just tons of variance in the times that you're going to get, so I can take that. It's perfectly healthy. Getting that piece that was inside the block is almost always really bad, so I'm just happy to get under 30 seconds there.
I think between the 3 different locations, there's over 100 potential locations.
In Wild Canyon, there's 90-something, and for the rest of the stages, it's over 100 per stage, yeah. So it's basically 100 per stage. If you want to, like, average it out somehow. So we just got introduced to Tails, and we've already, in that span of time, dealt with a boss fight. Tails is introduced to you through a boss fight, which is a very simple affair, and now we're into Prison Lane, an actual stage for Tails, and Tails' basic movement is, in my opinion, actually the most difficult of the 3 characters. Maintaining momentum with Tails and moving quickly is considerably difficult since you can't really corner particularly well with Tails. If you corner too sharply, you're just going to lose all your ground speed, so what you're going to see me do more often than not is try and do all my cornering in the air after I jump. So... like that's an example just there that I cornered a little too sharply before I jumped there and I lost all my speed and I simply couldn't make that jump there. It only loses like a couple of seconds though, but with Tails those seconds start to rapidly add up. As far as Prison Lane's, you know, stage-specific gimmick, this also introduces you to using the lock-on system where you've got to get series of enemies that are keeping doors locked. You can also get some lock-ons early through walls, as you might have just seen me get there, which actually unlocks a door early. And that's generally possible because the lock-on system really doesn't care about the line of sight you have to an enemy. It doesn't matter if your laser's actually over the enemy, it's just that each enemy basically has an area where if you're aiming at them from a specific area, you'll get the lock-on, and some of them are really weird. Alright, so just trying to deal with these early lock-ons. That's a particularly difficult early lock-on that I got there, so I'm quite glad that I got that. That's probably the most difficult one on the stage. So I'm going to try for this second gate hop. Hopefully I don't mess up my movement this time. Oh, bad. Okay, so I did it with an even worse camera than the other one, but I got that no problem, so weird how that works out sometimes. The camera can make it particularly difficult, obviously, both to see where you're going and to maintain a straight line, and to not do too much cornering to keep yourself going in a straight line, so it really can make things difficult. But yeah, I managed to deal with it just fine with a 139. I'd ideally like to finish the stage like a few seconds faster than that, but a sub 140 I'm not too unhappy with. Alright, Mel Harder. So I'm sure you know all about this stage and how we're about to pick up the light shoes. So just doing a bit of platforming. About 90% of this level, give or take, is just above water, which is just an instant death, so yeah, we better try not to fall. And here's the light shoes. So now that we've got these, we can just use light dashes across Trail of Rings. The light dash, unfortunately, is on the same button as every other action. Like, you have the jump button and you have the action button, which controls somersaulting, spin dashing, light dashing, bouncing. It does everything, and it just depends when you use the action. The light dash triggers specifically when you are next to Trails of Rings, but using the right action.
The later 3D games are better about it because they actually have certain chains of rings are actually tied to the light dash. This game doesn't care. You can use it in front of a single ring and you will dash through that single ring.
Yeah, and some of the light dash trails in this game which are intended to be used, like in a casual sense, they've been made more awkward to hit than they should be by virtue of the fact that, say, the ring trail is a bit too high off the ground, so Sonic doesn't really collide with it properly, and it can make some light dash collisions actually pretty tricky to land. So I did a rocket platform skip there where, you know, you normally just go around the rocket platform a couple of times to grab the handle, but I can just do a spin dash jump from the sloped surface at the base of the platform. The physics in this game are like really dynamic, and especially with Sonic, because you can gain so much momentum by spin dashing, you can do some pretty crazy physics-based stuff if you exploit slopes to like gain extra height.
And that's stuff that carries over even from the old games.
Absolutely.
Hey, that's everyone's favorite cutscene.
Like, I know this is like a Sonic and Mario marathon, but to me personally, the thing that really sets Sonic games apart from Mario games is the amount of physics exploitations you can do. Like, they're both solid series of platformers, but the amount of physics exploitations you can just do in Sonic games is remarkable, honestly. And I completely messed up Shadow 1 there. I landed a semi-task trap there to save quarter of a second on the spin dash going towards him. And then I just completely messed up my timing for the third hit when approaching him, so I lost a couple of seconds back. So I landed a strat that saved about a quarter of a second, and it's very difficult to hit. And then I messed up an absolutely elementary approach and lost about 3 seconds. So that was good.
So on that second hit, it actually looked like he didn't attack at all. What's going on there is something called storage. So again, with every single action being on the jump button, on the action button, when you tap B, the game immediately kind of stores a somersault. And then if you release B before the spin dash comes out, it'll throw out the somersault. But he doesn't do that. He immediately jumps after going through, so you never actually see it. But it counts as a somersault for the purpose of dealing damage.
Yeah. There's also a very little known minor trick that you can do called infinite storage, which is if you tap the action button for like no more than 1 or 2 frames, it will basically give you storage for an infinite duration without using the somersault until you jump or do something else. But nobody uses infinite storage, and even in like speed play, I don't know of any spot where you use infinite storage in the run. It's just a neat little quirk that you can do. So I'm coming up on another one of the most difficult skips in the entire run. This one I am not very good at, so I'm again going to give this one attempt and just carry on if I don't get it. This can...
Physics exploits.
I think I got it. Oh no! I had it and then Alright, I'll give it one more attempt then, I guess, because I was gonna get it there. I can't believe I messed up the end there.
Oh wow, that is so close.
Alright, well, No, Sonic, where are you going, dude? Speaking of stored values, you can, like, store speed in certain situations as well. That was interesting. Yeah, the reason that I missed that skip at the end there was if I hadn't been inputting, I was basically trying to fight against the camera pan, but if I hadn't been doing anything, Sonic would have just climbed up the ledge on his own, but I interrupted the animation by trying to input, and yeah, that was entirely my fault that I missed that. Again, like, I got the hard part of that trick, so that's a real shame. That is Green Forest Wall Run. Specifically, it's the hardest variant, which we call TAS Run. It was unveiled in the Hero Story TAS, and we previously thought that it was a TAS-only trick, but yeah, we've done a lot of ironing out with that to make it a bit more RTA viable, and I almost got it, so yeah, there you go. Like I say, I messed up the easy part at the end. The long story short of that is that with all the loops in this game, there's a mechanic called loop speed, where at certain intervals throughout a loop, if you're using directional input, the game will give you a burst of speed to like help you around the loop, and by standing in the right spot on the side of the loop and spin dashing off it and homing attacking into the loop speed trigger, it basically forces Sonic into what the game thinks is the current downward direction, and you can change what the current downward direction is by using slopes again, because that's basically how wall running works in the game, that you're essentially changing the direction of gravity for a short duration of time. So I use that to force me onto the tree, and then as long as I keep my speed high, I'm able to stick to the tree and run up it and hopefully jump off it at the top. But if I'd waited like slightly longer to jump off, or if I'd done my jump slightly differently, I may have made that as well. So that's a real shame that I didn't get that, but hey, I got CE skip, so kind of makes up for the time I saved from CE skip, I suppose. So we're in Pumpkin Hill, and this third piece I've got is what we call an ambiguous piece. It can be in 2 spots, and I just got screwed over. The hint text is identical between the 2 pieces, and you basically just have to guess where it can be. So I went to the spot that I thought was more likely, and it wasn't that, unfortunately. But 43 is still an average time. Like, that would have just been a very, very good set if I had gotten it at the right spot. But I'm still coming out with an average time, so it's fine.
The way that he's determining which is more likely or less likely, by the way, the game, it's not perfect, but it has a sort of algorithm. When it draws the 3 pieces, it tries to get them fairly far away from each other, so you don't just get drawn with 3 right next to each other.
Yeah, for for piece 1 to piece 2, it's very predictable because piece 2 is always going to be at least moderately far away from where piece 1 was. But for the third piece, it's a lot less clear, so I just try and guess the largest total area. But it's, like I say, it's a lot less clear from piece 2 to 3. So now that we've got Tails' booster, we can use the hover jump, which I'm going to try to do here for a very tight trick. Okay, good. So I used a 5-frame window by pause buffering there to get a very good hover jump. You obviously jump with the A button, and then if you hold the A button again, you hover. But if you're doing that as you're still ascending in your jump, it gives you a little more upward momentum. It's not much, but it is enough to make certain broken tricks possible, like getting on that weight there, which isn't meant to be possible on that cycle. And since the rest of the stage is cycle-based, I'm currently on pace to save about 10 seconds over what you can normally get. I made quite a mistake getting over the cages there, but the timing required for getting this faster cycle is generous enough that if I don't make any more mistakes, I should still make it. You can generally afford one major mistake and still make the cycle, as long as you don't make any follow-up mistakes after that. This might still be possible. Gonna have to see. Yeah, I should be making this. I'm just gonna need to hover jump on there. Yeah, there we go. So, yeah, we used to think that zero cycle, as we call it, and we call it that because when that was discovered, we didn't want to rename the cycles, so we just went one faster than the first cycle. We used to think that was like really, really tight and you could only lose tenths of a second, but as just the level of play has increased and our movement has gotten better, there's more time that you have to play with than you think, but we still obviously try and save as much time as possible to make the cycle lenient. Like, otherwise I wouldn't have been able to afford that one major mistake if I'd been losing bits of time everywhere else. But this is going to be a zero cycle mission streak. This is going to come out of being about a 206, maybe a 205 if it's super good, we'll have to see. Nah, that's a 206. Yeah, that's fairly average for zero cycle, without abusing the in-game timer at the upgrader. So, yeah, aside from the mishap in Green Forest, this is honestly a very, very solid run so far. Here's another RNG segment here, though, so the pace can swing quite widely depending on what I get here. And I'm checking for free pieces in this intro cutscene, and I've already seen one, so I already know where one of my pieces is. So I'm going to go up to the top of the stage and trigger water level 3 to empty out the stage, which makes it a lot easier to traverse, and now we're just going to go emerald hunting. So behind 2 heads. If the radar didn't ping, this is in the ghost room, so I'm going to use a clip here on this signpost. And I went in the wrong direction, so now I need to not die. Ugh, that's a big mistake. Oh well. That's kind of silly that I took that direction with that clip out as well, because for behind 2 heads specifically, that's like not preferable, so I'm just going to go in this direction this time. There we go. Now I'm closer to the piece. Yeah, so that was just a big error of judgment on my part. And last piece is container next to the jumbo skull. This is a pretty good last piece though, fortunately. Like, I made a big mistake going towards my second piece, but this is a very convenient third piece to reach. Just go down the narrow path and it's right here in the container, next to the jumbo skull. The game does sometimes use accurate hint names for the pieces. Sometimes they're way too cryptic and sometimes they are very literal.
Yeah, this is perfect.
Can you remember there being one in Dark Story that's really, really bad? It's like 3-color container in Mad Space. I think that's it.
Yeah.
And there's no way you can make it make sense.
Yeah. Like, most of the hints in Mad Space to begin with just don't correspond to anything you'd expect, because the hint text is either backwards, or if you get a second hint, they directly lie about the location of the piece. So, yeah, Mad Space is kind of an anomaly in that regard. So this is the only driving stage in the run, Route 101. Typically this is viewed by runners as just being like a plus 2-minute break in the run. Like, this is a very pedestrian stage where it's basically going to go the same every time. You might get a couple of seconds of variance, assuming you don't make any like big mistakes like running into a wall. It is possible to die in this stage, but it's like very uncommon. So I'm basically just coasting along, expecting to get a 2:14 or a 2:15 at the end of the stage here.
If you do, though, it has no checkpoints, so it's one of the biggest mistakes you can make.
Yeah, there's a couple of spots that you can accidentally die from just going over the side barriers, and there's also a very weird glitch that can happen where when the cars reach a certain point at near the end of the stage, they just despawn. But if you collide with a car as it despawns, it despawns the stage along with the car. So that's just an instant death. And since it's at the end of the stage, that loses over 2 minutes. So on just the regular cycle pace that I expect, that's not a risk, but depending on where the cycles are, you do have to be aware of on the last corner, okay, if there's a car near me, I need to like stay well away from the cars. Because, yeah, that's the last thing you want to happen in a run. You wouldn't think that Route 101 of all stages could be the most costly death in Hero Story, but that is the most costly death in this category if you accidentally trigger that. I don't think there's any other single mistake you can make in Hero Story that costs over 2 minutes.
No, I certainly can't think of one.
Right,
That's just about the longest stage in the run by itself.
Yeah.
Never mind all the checkpoints.
So, you'll notice throughout the stage as well that I'm wiggling back and forth at all times. This is to maintain my boost speed cap. You have the regular driving speed that you have, and you can use boosts to speed yourself up. But if you wiggle back and forth to maintain the drift, you actually don't go back down to your regular speed. You just maintain the boost speed. And then it's just controlled by if you, hit walls or cars to decelerate, or if you go up slopes. So I pretty much just save my boosts for after I collide with something, or after I go up a slope to get back up to max speed. So, Hidden Base, we're entering the trio of desert stages. A lot of runners agree that this is pretty much the most technical part of the game. Like, the space stages at the end are very glitch heavy and have major skips, but these stages for the most part are just very technical and very involved. This is basically going to be hover jumps and out of bounds of the stage, where as soon as this point I'm going to use another pause hover to get over this fence. And yeah, we're just flying. So there's a lot of stuff like this in Hidden Base where I'm going to be cutting off little bits of the stage by using hover flights. And all the quicksand around me is of course an instant death if I fall into it, so I am not going to do that.
Yeah, it's a common kind of programming thing from games of this era, is that if you weren't expected to interact with something, it probably doesn't have a hitbox, and therefore there's a lot of walls here that you can just go straight through.
Pretty much, yeah. The way that this game generally handles it is that they made the walls solid up to a certain height, and then once you go high enough that you weren't really meant to be able to get up there, they were just like, alright, that's good enough. They won't get up there, so we don't need to keep rendering that, I guess. So that's going to be exploited in Sonic's next stage as well, once we get the bounce bracelet to be able to use Sonic's most prevalent glitch, the super bounce. I'll explain that a bit more when we get there. So far though, this is a pretty nice paced Hidden Base with a 1/12 checkpoint there. There's a couple of other variants that I could have used at the spot I did my first pause hover that would have been a couple of seconds faster, but they are much more difficult. And I mean, a pause hover is already difficult, but they're like much tighter. There's the fastest variant is pole jump, we call it, and I don't really believe people when they say it's frame perfect, the hover jump that you need, but you need 2 near enough frame perfect pause hovers back to back to be able to make it. And you also need to have had no movement mistakes before that point in the stage, because you're trying to meet a mini cycle at the spot that you come out. So if you've lost a bit of time, the cycle's going to be too high and you'll just fall on the sand. So I don't particularly like going for that for the sake of 2 seconds, and I'd rather just use more consistent strats. So, out of Tails' stage into Sonic's stage, Pyramid Cave. I mentioned that we're about to get the bounce bracelet. That's going to be about 30 seconds into the stage. So far I'm just really trying to conserve my speed through these hallways. Pretty nicely done actually, with a mid-12 checkpoint there. And I'm going to use a weird thing called a geometry bounce here. I call it a geometry bounce, where certain corners and collisions just really don't know what to do with you when you approach them at high speed, so they just bounce you straight up or bounce you in a specific direction. And now here we have the bounce bracelet, and we can use it to do this. If you spin dash towards a wall and then bounce before you hit the wall, the game simply converts all of your current horizontal speed into vertical speed. So if I just go forwards towards a wall, then I suddenly go really fast upwards away from it. And this is possible on pretty much every wall in the game. So you've already seen how it can be a little broken, and I just got a really precise door clip there. It's less precise than it is on Dreamcast, thankfully, because the hitboxes are bigger on Dreamcast, and I also personally believe that the resolution of the game has something to do with it, but yeah, there we go.
So for context as well, a regular bounce, you saw the platforms where he actually got the bounce bracelet, That's roughly how high a normal bounce is meant to
Yeah.
go.
This is another one as
just
well.
how
Like,
much
the short platform that I just got over there, you're meant to be able to get just enough height to get over it with a regular bounce. You can get ridiculous amounts of heights with a super bounce, since, as I said, it's a simple case of however fast you were going forwards, you suddenly go that fast upwards. So since you can go pretty fast as Sonic, you gain ridiculous amounts of height sometimes. So a 136 for Pyramid Cave is pretty respectable, and so Hidden Base is, you know, like I say, Tails' most technical stage. Pyramid Cave is definitely Sonic's hardest stage. Death Chamber is definitely Knuckles' hardest stage. I'm going to do a couple of free-piece checks in the intro room here. Didn't get them. Bug's Food. Alright, so I'm going to be able to use a weird strat here. Because of the first piece that I've got, this is in the blue room. I mentioned about how the second piece is always going to be at least moderately far away from the first piece. The blue room is very far away from the red room where the level starts. So after I get this piece, I'm going to intentionally take a death. And the theory is that you then have a high probability of getting a piece in the red room when you respawn, which basically cuts out the travel time to the piece. And I got one. So this is going to be Beauty and the Beast, I think. Yeah, based on the radar range. And I'm going to try and keep this box intact because there are some pieces that I can use this box to clip towards. Such as, okay, I'm not going to do it for this one actually. This is in the green secret room, or the red-green secret room we call it, but this is close enough with the regular route that it's not really worth clipping for it and risking taking a death if you perform it incorrectly. So I'm just going to go here normally. So pretty good Death Chamber overall, that I got a blue first piece, respawned for a second piece, and then my third piece wasn't too far away. I quite like that. It's because you can use that box that I got the second piece in to clip out and go to different spots on the stage as well. It is possible to complete that stage without picking up the hammer gloves to break metal boxes, but then there are some pieces in Meteor Herd where you need to be able to break metal boxes as well, so it's not worth trying to skip them. So for King Boom Boo, I'm going to try a very difficult strat here to save a few seconds.
Nice. Looking forward to seeing it.
I missed it. I got too close to him, and when I was baiting him towards me, so I couldn't really initiate Fireball Skip. But that only saves a few seconds if you get it, so it's no big deal. The real big deal with King Boom Boo is getting the one cycle. Casually, you are meant to just do this fight in 4 cycles where you hit him and he runs away too quickly to catch you. But if your movement is very precise, you're able to keep up just enough with him to be able to keep landing blows. You can actually outrun him as well, but if you get too far ahead of him, then you'll turn him around when you punch him, which kills the one cycle just as effectively as not catching up with him. So I had to use a precise angle there to moderate how quickly I was approaching him at that point. But a pretty good fight overall, and going straight into another boss fight with Egg Golem. And I can use the same super bounces as in Pyramid Cave, but these are extremely precise because the platforms are very narrow. I have no more than 5 frames, I believe, to perform each super bounce, and that is charging with the B button, releasing it, and pressing A, and then pressing B. I basically need to do 2.5 inputs in 5 frames to get each of these super bounces. And I'm kind of choking. I got 2 good ones, but now I'm choking getting the 3rd one. This is the last one that I really need to have a good fight, because you get the other 2 hits in a different fashion. Alright, I'm gonna get greedy. I'm gonna go for another bounce, because why not? Okay, I got it. So, I didn't get punished for once. I have been punished doing that before, so... And this is a split where, if I'm running against my PB splits, I have an extremely strong split here, where I have a 23, which is about as good as you can get in this fight. So, even though I made, only a couple of mistakes in that fight, it basically cost nearly 20 seconds over what I get in my PB. That is a rough split to run against.
Yeah, they are fairly costly mistakes because if you miss the bounce either early or late, I can't remember which one, you fall into the pit and it takes quite a time to get back up again.
Yeah. I'm not really scared of Egg Golem though, but I am scared of this stage. Eternal Engine used to be a really simple stage where you just met a cycle halfway through the stage, but now we have a really dumb clip we can do here, which I'm going to try basically until I get it. And I got it first try. Nice. That is one of the most inconsistent, dumb things you can do in this run, getting the clip out here. I'm at this point just going to fly towards the end of the stage. Honestly, basically, the stage gameplay is over. I'm just flying towards the end of the stage now. With the old route, where you play half the stage and then clip out after meeting a cycle, the stage is about 2 minutes long. And that cuts out a significant portion of the stage where you can expect a skipless Eternal Engine to be in the region of 3 minutes. With this route, this is going to be about a 120, so this saves like 40 seconds over what was already a really notable skip. But the clip out that I did there, like, it is ridiculous to perform that clip out. You need to be able to jump and shoot simultaneously to break both of the wooden boxes, so that the metal box can fall on top of you and push you out of bounds. But depending on how you approach it, what your speed is, how long you held the A button to jump, there's a lot of ways that that can just not work. And since you need to use the metal box falling on you, you only get one attempt at that. There's another set of boxes in the other corner of the stage, so you can basically use 2 attempts per life, but if you miss it those 2 times, you need to take a death to reset the room. So that is a very scary skip to go for.
Classic Draco, though. Everything you've called out as being stupidly difficult.
Alright, I can't do CGSS and I'm not gonna hit it. I'm gonna call that. I'm not even really fully joking, because I was practicing it earlier and I got it not very often, so I'm a little frightened. But this run's been going pretty well so far. So Meteor Herd's the last RNG stage, and I've just got a magnificent first piece. I paused when I got my second piece there to check where this piece is. This is another one of those pieces where the hint text refers to 2 possible spots, but the placement of the text on screen does make a difference. So I was checking where the text aligned with the pause box to see which variant it was, and then I got an amazing third piece and got a 30 Meteor Herd. That is, what? That saves like 20 seconds over what I got in my PB. I wish... Yeah, this... What? I don't understand this run very much.
Yeah,
This is scary.
This is perfect.
I'm a little worried. It's fun though. And
That is an incredible Meteor Herd.
yeah. The you can get like over a minute if the RNG is bad enough, and for reference, the best time you can get in the stage is around about 20 seconds. Like, there's 2 specific sets which are just ungodly good. They get you about 20 seconds. Aside from that, though, getting in the region of like 30 is what you can reasonably expect with a really, really good set. So that was just really good RNG that I got there. And I messed up Rouge a little bit, but we're still gonna just, you know, handstand on her a lot and own her. That fight's meant to be quite difficult because her AI is meant to be very erratic, but as long as you are airborne, more often than not, she just remains very passive. So as long as you're just jumping around her or drill diving on her, she basically just stands there and let you own her. So here is Crazy Gadget with definitely, in my opinion, this is the most difficult skip in the game to perform, CGSS. I have practiced this skip like a lot though, so hopefully this is going to go quite well. Basically, I'm going to need to get on a specific spot on the wall after changing gravity, do a very precise spin dash jump to get out of bounds, which involves me weaving between multiple kill planes whilst I can't see where I'm going, and I can't really see the kill planes either because you know they're invisible. And then the camera is going to be behind me, and I'm going to need to guesstimate where to fall into the goal ring, but there's some visual cues to follow. Alright, I went too high on my angle there, so thankfully the checkpoint is right before the skip, so we get to just try it multiple times. But I did just mess up my initial travel angle there. Alright, I'm out of bounds second try, so now that I'm out of bounds I should have this. I just need to, like I say, pay close attention to some background visual cues to make sure I'm going to hit the goal ring, because if you miss the goal ring you just die, so yeah. But yeah, we're in. So second try CGSS after really fluffing the first attempt. I can certainly take that. Overall, this is a run and a half. I'll put it like that. This is a really good run so far. We've got 2 more boss fights. We're about to come upon Eggman 2 for Tails, then Sonic's last stage Final Rush, and Sonic's final boss, Shadow 2. Eggman 2 is casually meant to be... In fact, I'm going to demonstrate something here for Eggman 2. So I've recently been doing blindfold routing for this boss. This is a route you can perform with a blindfold on. So I missed a hit there, but I'm still like doing it. But the route that I took there, you can perform that with a blindfold on. That's not too difficult to perform without looking at the game. If I like had a cam, I would be able to actually demonstrate that. I'd be able to like blindfold myself and do the fight. But yeah, it is what it is. A 16 is still a very good time, even though I missed a hit there. So here's
Am I thinking of the wrong fight? Or does Robotnik normally run to the right at the start?
Not if you get really close to him. He doesn't move off until you shoot towards him, so you can get up close to him and just shoot him in the face, and then he'll always respond by punching towards you. So, against my better judgment, I'm going to try fast FR once. This is a bad idea. I'm going for a... I've talked about stuff being like pseudo-random. This is basically random, and by that I mean I've got less than a 15% chance of landing this. Okay, no, I
This is
didn't.
to do, yeah, no, this is just to do with collision detection. So the width of the kill plane is slightly less than the distance you actually travel in a single frame, and therefore you can be on one side of it on one frame and on the other side of it on the other frame.
Yep. It's, oh my god. Alright, I got the checkpoint, it's fine. So 2 deaths in Final Rush, and only one of them due to me making really bad decisions and going for skips that I shouldn't be going for. But that was like a 3-second death, otherwise it's not too bad. So I'm using the slanted rail here to skew my gravity, and with a precise direction that I'm holding, I'm able to maintain this skewed gravity and essentially attempt to fall around all of the kill planes in the stage. I actually didn't pay a lot of attention to when I was meant to reset gravity, so hopefully I've done this correctly, because now I just need to fall towards the end of the stage and hope that I have enough height, because if I'm not high enough to hit the goal ring, I don't really have any ways to gain any more height here. But I started from the checkpoint, which means add like a second or so to the full timing because my movement's different, so I think I've timed this correctly. And I use a variant of this that is safer in general anyway, because you generally end up getting closer to the goal ring faster. Yeah, I've got tons of height here, which means I probably actually turned about as quick as I could have afforded to without hitting a kill plane. I probably inadvertently came very close to hitting a kill plane there, but yeah, we're through. Fine. It's Final Rush skip is not meant to be scary, it's meant to be quite elementary once you've mastered it, but if you haven't been paying attention to the timer to know when you need to reset gravity and stuff, then you are basically just making an educated guess on when you need to turn there. Like, you can see because of the amount of height I had at the end there, like a couple of seconds, if I'd fell for 1 second longer in the wrong direction, that would have then added an extra second to get back to where I need to be, and then, you know, that time rapidly disappears. So here's the last boss, Shadow 2, and I'm just going to try and land 5 quick ones on him, and time is on the 5th hit. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and time. I mean, on my timer, that looks like a 34, 31-ish. That's like a mid-34, which after Emblem skip, like I say, cuts off about 2 minutes. So normal RTA for the run, that's like a mid-36. That's a pretty respectable run.
Yeah, I had no idea if you actually used Emblem Skip Glitch in your PB, but yeah,
no, during my regular runs I don't, because like I say, it doesn't make a difference to the run timing, but whenever I bring this run to a marathon, I figure, well, I might as well help the marathon stay on schedule. If I can save 2 minutes, I may as well do it.
Yep.
So that's the run. So hope you guys enjoyed. This was Sonic Adventure 2's hero story. Like I say, I was Drakodan, and Mike Sega Junkie joined me here. Hope you guys enjoyed it.
I still am Michael, I think.
Maybe. I mean, according to the stream, you're the Mike89, so it's even better.
Alright, well, great job, man.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Hand it over to
Quite happy with that run.
Mario Odyssey next.
Oh, nice. Alright, so make sure you guys don't go anywhere and catch Mario Odyssey, and I think we're like about to be, after that, done with the runs for day 1, but we've got a lot of runs coming up for day 2 tomorrow as well.
All right, you all. Good stuff there from Drakodan, of course, the Mike 89, commenting along with it. Again, we'll see the other part of the SA2 run tomorrow. We've got a Dark Story tomorrow as well, so you don't want to miss out on that one. We have an incentive for that one to save or kill those knucklehead animals floating around all those stages. So again, make sure that when you donate, you can put that towards that poll to let them just sit there and die, or take them home and share them with your friends and maybe kill them later. I don't know.